I have never heard that said in that language. Because I've heard, well, we're responsible, we're brothers and sisters, it's humanity, it's, you know, but you're saying what a portion of what we have actually belongs to the poor. So if we're withholding what belongs to them, what does that say about us? And I mean, that's powerful to me.
Well, that's what 1 John says. If you have material possessions, you see your brother or sister in need, and you don't meet that need, then the love of God is not in you. But the practice that you see in the Bible for meeting the needs, such as hunger, was to leave a corner of your field for the poor. And the Bible's clear that we are a harvest field, and we have a harvest field. You know, that's all that God has blessed us with. And the first fruits of the harvest field, that goes to your church. That's the tithe. But in addition to that, you are to leave a corner of your field for the poor. And that could be time, talent, treasure. But you're right, all of us have been commanded to leave a corner of our lives for the poor. But the important thing is, it's a command, but it's also the greatest adventure and joy that you can be a part of. You see this young boy that had the loaves of bread and the fish? You know, he could have gone off, and I'm sure it would have been a good lunch, but it would have been an ordinary lunch. Instead, he gave what he had to Jesus. Jesus multiplied it to feed the multitudes. And I would say to all of us, if we want to have an ordinary life, then keep it. Keep it all. But if you want to experience an extraordinary God that has placed you on this planet to accomplish extraordinary things, give it away. And watch Him multiply it to change your world.
You say compassion revolutionaries are not overcome by the need, but by the potential. And I have to say, I found this verse. I'm sure we've read it many times. Look at the back of the book. I mean, that's an arresting mandate from Deuteronomy 13, verse 4. There should be no poor among you.
Wow.
That calls us to a high commitment.
Well, you know,
sorry to interrupt that, but isn't that kind of go counter to there will always be poor among us verse? I mean,
well,
don't we always quote, well, there will be always poor among us, the poor will be with us, so that's our lot in life.
There you go. The poor will always be with you. It connotates a relationship and a responsibility. We look at it the other way. Oh, they're going to be with us, so, you know, live with it. But no, the poor will always be with you. It's a relationship. And I'll never forget when I was preaching at our church, this, as I was exiting to go around so that I could shake people's hands as they were leaving and hopefully hear, that was a good message, Pastor. But, you know, as I was walking past the restroom, a homeless man walked out. And he said, Pastor, Pastor. And I got to tell you, you know, I wanted to keep walking because he smelled. But I stopped. And I'll never forget the way he looked. You know, his hair was matted, he was missing teeth, he had a toothless smile. And he said, Pastor, he said, do you know my name? And I said, yes, I know your name. He said, I want you to know that I don't come here for the food, even though that's good. I like the church service, but this is why I come here. Because I want people to know my name. Mm-hmm. And I said, your name is Joe. Your name is Joe. And he just lit up. Yeah. And how many people in our world just need somebody to know their name?
Well,
their name.
Well, I was going to raise this point that, you know, even when we say the poor, it is a monolithic term that cuts us off from actually that these are people. Mm-hmm. These are people who want to be known, who want to be seen, who want to be heard. Yes. I think sometimes the greatest unmet needs are relational needs. And, and that, you know, giving money, doing all the things that we may do to satiate our consciousnesses, you know, or our conscience, I should say, they don't fill that relational need.
That's well said. You know, in the book I tell a story that these needs are in our own backyard. We had a Convoy of Hope outreach. You know, it's food, medical screening, job fairs, and I asked this lady...
In America.
In America.
In America.
Okay, in America. Land of plenty. You know, but this young lady and her daughter were there at the outreach, and I asked them what area they lived in. and they pointed in the direction of a church. And I said, oh, not where you go to church, but, where do you live? And they pointed in the same direction. And I walked over there, and behind this church, there was this broken down bus, and then a rustic fence, and in between there, they had built this shelter. So this woman and her daughter are living in the back of a church, the backyard of a church. And the point there is that there are so many needs, yes, around the globe, places like Africa. But in our own backyard, there are needs and opportunities for us to be with and for us to leave a corner of our lives to make a difference.
Now, Dave, you're not afraid of the tough issues, the controversial stuff. You talk about guidelines to practicing responsible compassion. When does aid enable instead of provide sustainability?
That was a difficult chapter. But God has called us to be good stewards of our resources. And I kick off the story of our pastor after we finally got into a home after the accident. He came over and he said, the good news is that our church is going to provide a front lawn for you kids to play on. And I mean, we jumped up and down with glee. But he said, there's one caveat here. We're only going to put one strip of grass. And then as you take care of that grass, then we'll add other strips. And
cool.
So it started out great. We had the green thumb, but after a while, that beautiful piece of grass, it turned into some yellow dirt, and the neighbors wondered, who's buried under there, and what is that? What an eyesore! And but we learned a tough lesson that you have to be a good steward of the giving and the receiving. Galatians 6 says, "Bear ye one another's burdens." But then you skip down a few verses and it says each one should carry their own load. And the point is that, yes, we need to respond to immediate needs that individuals have, like in Haiti. But in addition, we need to work on moving people towards sustainability, like the Davises did for us.